This is a question I get frequently, and it seems to be one of those questions that people want to argue against some of my own personal beliefs about. And there's a couple things in this I want to talk about. There are no good or bad people. There's just people who experience either love or fear. And fearful people can tend to do bad things, and loving people tend to do loving things. And loving people who are very, very loving tend to be selfless. And in being selfless, they don't give back to themselves. And they weaken themselves. They put themselves into positions where they can be taken advantage of. Because being loving to yourself also means you respect yourself enough not to allow someone to take advantage of you. Sometimes, as I've often said, the most loving thing you can do is be a consequence for someone. But sometimes the good people, and I'm doing quotes because I don't believe there are good or bad people, I believe that sometimes the good people get taken advantage of because they don't respect themselves enough or love themselves enough to actually have a boundary and be a consequence. I have often been a consequence for someone, and years later they came back and said, thank you for doing that, because that moment changed my experience, changed my life. I had one gentleman who I could see was going down a really bad path. He was the big fish in a small pond, and he was not living up to his obligations, and his assistant was actually doing all the work, and he was taking the claim and taking the money too. And I fired him and hired his assistant, and this was when I was directing Renaissance festivals. And he said, well, you've ended my friendship with him. And blah, blah, blah. I said, well, that's your choice. You get to choose that. Well, years later, he emailed me and he said, thank you for doing that, because I went off and I became a nurse, and I'm doing good things in my life now, and things are much better. But that was the point. He was floundering, and I was the consequence, right? I had someone who was a great, great friend who was deep into cocaine. And I didn't even know it at the time he was deep into cocaine, because he never did it around me, because I never did drugs in my life. But he would be this loving, caring individual who taught yoga and meditation. And he was always a very loving, caring, big smile on his face always. And then every so often he'd come back by and he would be an absolute jackass, an absolute horrible person, a quote unquote bad person, right? And it came to the point where I was like, I thought he was just drinking too much. It came to the point where I was like, well, if you're if you're drinking or you're doing drugs, I don't like you in that place, so I'm not your friend anymore. Because you're a great person here, but you're a crap person there. And until you get that straightened out, we're not friends. What happened? He went back to his home state and got clean and became a school teacher and went on and did great things with his life. But sometimes the consequences need to happen. People need to say no and empower themselves. So good people have, quote unquote, good people have bad things happen to them only because they're trying to be good people. And it's not about trying to be good people. It's about being a good person to not only others, but to yourself as well. I often talk about, and it's one of the things that I have to repeat over and over and over again. The word ego means self-awareness. It does not mean that you are a narcissist or a big ego, right? That's what they're talking about. When they're talking about, somebody says, well, they've got an ego. Ego means self-awareness. What they're talking about is an ego out of balance. You can be out of balance in your ego and think very highly of yourself and be very narcissistic, and that's what's known as a big ego. You can also be a person of low ego, which is a person who is so giving of themselves that they diminish themselves. This is what a lot of quote unquote good people do, is they diminish themselves for the sake of being good people. And you have to realize that energy is a flow. This love and this energy moves like. And the reason we know that is because the atomic energy we're looking at is just an energy event, right? And God is love, and this is the image of God, so this must be love that we're looking at, right? And so it flows, energy moves. That's how current happens, right? So for energy to flow equally and easily, it's got to be a balanced energy. There are going to be two poles, you and the outer world. And so your awareness is to sit in the middle and go, okay, I'm doing this good thing for myself, and I'm doing this good thing for these people. I am equally sharing myself. That's why I often tell people, go take a vacation, relax. What do you like to do? Go do something you like to do. Don't give yourself up. Because if you give yourself up for others, you will diminish and bad things will happen. And that's my thought on that. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you, my friends, for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure that you've subscribed and you like it, you share it, but also comment below it. Let's get this community talking about these topics and spreading this information out far and wide so we can change the world for the better. Thank you.